Hello and welcome back to the GameShow Global Esports Cup here on GameShow D2EN_2. I'm Grandis Fee. This is the third game of today. Team Duobao versus FTD Club A. Team Duobao currently undefeated today as they take their second game as well. And we'll have to see. FTD seem to be a little bit more difficult opponents. I'd say they have a couple of very storied players, and in general have been looking pretty solid in the GameShow Global Esports Cup. I'm not 100% sure on the standings. I don't think they've been updated right about now, but we're getting close to where everything's getting set in stone, and are looking to where they're in the middle of the pack. This is a very important best of one for them. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to take it. Different styles of play in both of their games. Team Duobao in their first game took it incredibly slow and steady, methodically, very slowly taking the advantage. And then the second game of the day, it was super fast against ESD. Where, as soon as they get one fight going their way, it's fight after fight after fight. And at that point, they maybe get a little bit cocky and go high ground. Unsuccessfully so, but if they want to, they're going to pick up the Shadow Fiend, and they will, as their first pick. Instantly responded with the Slaughter for FTD, but Shadow Fiend was crucial in both of their victories earlier today, and Team Duobao are already warmed up on the hero. Why broke what's not, why fix what's not broken? My goodness. This is going to be a long day. We still have so many more impressive games coming your way soon. Halfway through the day, we'll have EGAD over here as well. Currently, he's casting over on GameShow_D2EN, just the primary channel for your English coverage of the GameShow Global Esports Cup. Winter Wyvern to follow up the slaughter for FTD. A really solid opener from them. Interesting that Duobao takes so much of their reserve time, considering these early bans and picks. I think it settles down in a pretty good spot for FTD. The Slaughter, the Winter Wyvern, incredibly good initiators, and a lot of potency even through BKB. Although BKB is going to purge off the amp and will avoid the crush with Winter's Curse there, and with amp damage applied onto the target. You can do so much DPS if you have some sort of extra hero to benefit, like the Shadow Fiend, off of that amplified damage, which FTD will probably look to pick up. We'll have to see what lane it'll be going towards. The Slaughter, I mean. There's so many different options. Usually offlane is where I like to see Slaughter the most, but if you put him safe lane, that can free up a lot of space for your supports. This Slaughter will want to roam as soon as he gets that Blink Dagger up. For Duobao, it's going to be the Dazzle. By no means slouches either in their first couple of picks, as we'll see Wind Ranger instantly banned by Duobao. A hero that can do very well against the Shadow Fiend in lane, at the very least, trade evenly. And benefits massively from the Slaughter's amp damage. Even though she doesn't have any natural minus armor of her own, the physical damage from nagging him after Wind Ranger is nothing to joke about. For FTD, they'll ban out the Darks here. Shadow Fiend, Dazzle, Slaughter, and Winter Wyvern all are very individually powerful heroes that aren't going to say too much about what you want to be doing inside the game. Shadow Fiend, Slaughter, both can fight very aggressive early on, scale well into the mid game, and scale decently well in the late if they have some sort of backup. And really, we don't know. And Dazzle, Winter Wyvern likewise can enable your other heroes to play very aggressively, but are also more than comfortable just taking things slow and steady. Templar Assassin and X-Band coming out from Team Duobao. They really are just securing Shadow Fiend his mid lane matchup and making sure they don't have those scary combos with the Slaughter's amp damage. The one thing I don't like about Slaughter in this draft is the fact that he's facing the wrong direction. Everybody else seems to be looking towards the right hand side, but Slaughter, always the rebel, will be facing towards the left. Let's see where FTD are going to angle their draft with. It's going to be a Gyrocopter next for them. Pretty much ensuring that Slaughter is going to be played in the offlane role. Gyrocopter benefits very heavily from having the Slaughter as an initiator on the front lines to open up for his suite of magic damage. Now for Duobao. Knowing Gyrocopter's on the table probably doesn't change their plans all that much. Tusk has already been banned out, as has been Darkseer and Spirit Breaker and Undying. A lot of the common offlaners for Chinese Dota have been taken away in one way, shape, or form. Clockwork is a safe pick still. I'm not sure if they want to go for it, though. It doesn't feel like it's going to be easy for the Clockwork to set up kills. Even just seeing the first 3 picks from FTD, you have the Arctic Burn to fly out of those cogs for the Winter Wyvern, Cold Embrace to bail out any of the allies, and Slider and Gyrocopter are more than comfortable man-fighting you inside the cogs, as long as you don't have a Blade Mail. And even then, maybe. Duobao eating through almost all of the reserve time will settle on the Disruptor. A pretty stable support for them. I don't see the big selling point for Disruptor here unless Duobao are on the aggressive. Disruptor and Dazzle, although immediately isn't the most obvious aggressive duo, they don't have a lot of damage between them. They're a little bit utility heavy. They do enable other heroes to play super aggressive. When you're chasing down targets, you can do a lot with the Glimpse and the Shallow Grave. But in general, I'm liking FTD's draft a little bit more. This Night Stalker, the Slaughter, the Gyrocopter, the Winter Wyvern, it feels like they're going to have a lot more solid timing window, especially for that second nighttime. 12 minutes in, probably have your Blink Dagger and Slaughter, and if you don't have it, you're going to be getting it soon. Night Stalker is going to be sitting at one of his soft peaks. The Dazzle Disruptor, tasty little targets on the enemy's side to go on towards. You have the Gyrocopter that's ready to fight, and everything seems to be lining up properly. Whereas Team Duobao seem to have a very safe lineup, and maybe a bit too safe. No, that said, Clockwork and Shadowfiend still can do a lot, even with very little. Just with the raises and getting levels on the Clockwork, they can do a lot of damage. Still, the situation arises where all of these targets are going to be difficult to bring down. I think Duobao need to have something maybe a little bit crazy for this 5th pick. Alchemist will be banned from Duobao. Maybe they are interested in taking this late. I'd advise against it. I don't know. FTD's late game also looking very potent, with the Gyrocopter Slaughter already. What's FTD's pick, or last pick, going to be? That's the real big question here. I don't think this is going to be a mid-Night Stalker, so probably another mid-hero for FTD. If it is a mid-Night Stalker, not sure if I like that matchup against the Shadowfiend. Still might work out for them. But they have a lot of time to think about it, so at least there's that for them. A lot's going to rest on this Dazzle and Disruptor making effective use of the limited tools that they have early on to find kills. I don't think Team Duobao can take this early game passively. If they just let FTD farm for that Blink Dagger and Slider, get to that scary nighttime phase I was describing, they're going to be very hard pressed to deal with it. Now an Ember Spirit for FTD. Another one of those carries that can contribute so much with just levels. Team Duobao don't really have the appropriate lockdown for the Ember Spirit either with the Static Storm, and it's going to be a Wraith game for Duobao. I think he might just end up getting kited around, and I still like FTD's lineup quite a lot with the amount of aggression it's able to output. But if this game is taken a little bit more passively by FTD, and they're allowing this Wraith team to get a lot of farm, maybe then they'll be able to pull this one through. Wraith King's going to need a safe lane farmer for Duobao, it seems. With Shadowfiend in the mid, Clockwork in the off lane, as the supports are going to TP again, looking for those deep wards. This one will be slightly different from the ones that we saw earlier today. Still going to give a very comparable amount of vision, most importantly just vision onto the mid's high ground. Will make the Shadowfiend feel a lot more comfortable. Shadowfiend is going to be accompanied by the rest of his team as they go down to the bottom bounty spot. Slider is going to try to place out his ward. Let's see how successfully he'll be able to do that. Looks like he's going to go for a more defensive spot. Not going to block out the camp, but we'll still be able to spot rotations. And Duobao are going to be met by quite a few enemy heroes down in this bottom area. It's really hard to call who wins a level 1 fight. Probably FTD. I think Duobao don't really want to contest it. They're just going to swagger their way up to this top rune spot and pick up the bounty rune for the SF, which we have seen do a lot of work for Duobao in their first 2 games. So maybe just the power of having that Shadow Fiend is there. If FTD are paying a lot of attention, if they're looking on the Shadow Fiend in this top rune spot, they do know that he's gone for raise level 1. Slider, do you really want to try to steal this? He's gonna get the crush and the bounty rune steal. Is that worth it for you? Can you get out alive? The raises are gonna fly. The Slider in a lot of trouble, get Wraith Fire blasted down. Shadow Fiend misses his raise. Another crush. Dazzle draws first blood with the poison touch. I mean, he gets it. And they don't give the first blood to the Shadow Fiend. If the Shadow Fiend gets that first blood, that bounty rune steal is all for naught. Could have been a lot worse. And now the Arctic burns there, and the Shadow Fiend is going to be harassed down to pretty low amounts of HP. Forced to send out his salve already. Requires some assistance from the Disruptor. Not the best situation, but yeah, that was really ballsy, Slider. And I think it works out for him. Although now he has to deal with the Dazzle that's already killed him once and is able to very easily sustain this constant spam of the Poison Touch and be a general nuisance. Slider finds level 2. This is not going to be a very fast Blink Dagger for the Slider, but he's still going to get his levels against just a Dazzle Wraith King lane. Good amount of poke from the Dazzle, but not a huge amount of killing potential unless Slider gets over aggressive. Mid lane Ember Spirit. It's going to post up onto the Shadow Fiend, not canceling the Clarity though. Maybe he'll have a couple more raises to throw out. Still not nearly enough to maintain the current pace that he's CSing against the Ember Spirit. Shadow Fiend has not a single soul. Usually when you go for raise level 1, you either want to get the kill, or you want to secure your bottle very quickly. Neither of those things happen in this game. If he gets the first blood, he's very close to his bottle. But top lane, Slider's going to take the Wraith Fire Blast with 3 heroes hitting. This is going to be a secondary kill on that Slider for the side of Duobao. As they bring in the Disruptor, having the third hero in that lane really does add to the killing potential. But bottom lane also, this Clockwork not in a lot of safety here. They're going to give up chase. He's been repelled off of the pole, and that's enough for them. Clockwork going to try to steal this regeneration rune. Slightly faster than Winter Wyvern, can't quite deny it either. Cogs in onto the Winter Wyvern. No Arctic Burn available, but then again no battery assault for the Clockwork, so the killing potential is almost not. And Luffy will be repelled. Ember Spirit and Gyrocopter getting a lot of farms, slightly more than their counterparts on the enemy side of the map, but not by much. Oh, Courier Snipe Disruptor, you're going to be able to get this. The Courier lies dead. How is he able to pull that one off? This Radiant Observer Ward spotting out the Disruptor as he was moving around mid. Maybe he just finds the perfect angle and walks the long way around in order to be able to get that Courier Snipe. Nobody expects the Disruptor to go for that Courier Snipe. If it's a Bounty Hunter, you're a lot more defensive about it. And that is going to be unfortunate for FTD. At the very least, the bottle wasn't on it, and it is just gold for Duobao. But after 2 kills, and after that Courier Snipe, this early game, or at least the early laning stage, is looking to be pretty comfortably in their favor. The Clockwork's still getting levels. Level 3 on Luffy. Does need to be careful. This is a level 2 Night Stalker and a level 3 Gyrocopter. The Rocket Barrage really messes you up if you're not careful. But also the Slider is getting less than the Clockwork. Now that the lane is pushing back in, Slider will probably find himself level 3 in a little bit. But yeah, Duobao are by no means upset about how this is going. The races will be thrown, bringing down that Flame Shield. Now Ember Spirit in a lot of trouble. They have the long raise, and that's going to be the death of him. Nicely done, Shadow Fiend, and just a very well coordinated gank or coordinated kill coming out from Duobao. The Flame Shield at only level 2, absorbing 200 magic damage usually sounds pretty good, but we're dealing with these Shadow Raises, it's just not enough. A piece to doing 175, all they needed was a little bit more from the Thunderstrike on top of it to completely waste them. Then one more raise is lethal. Slaughter is getting boxed out by the Disruptors, they secure the Bounty Rune. For the Shadow Fiend to refill his bottle. And refill his HP and mana pool. The good news for FTD is they still have ways to fight, even though they're getting a little bit less gold on the side of Duobao. It's not an amount that they can't fight into. 1,500, although I'm not going to say is insignificant for Duobao, it's still something that FTD can take engagements into, especially once they get this Gyrocopter's level 6. That seems to be a long ways away. Shadow Fiend will push out the mid lane, and the Clockwork does rotate around the corner. Luffy, he sees his lane as pushing King, get a lot of experience. It's probably worth it to be around that area, but he still has no points in battery assault, so again, his actual killing potential is next to nothing. But for this next little bit, Ember Spirit is still quite vulnerable. Has Flame Guard available in just a second, but can't afford to trade hits against this Shadow Fiend. He's 15 and 12, in and of itself, that's pretty good. But more impressively is 1-0-1, a Disruptor. These deep wards down. Will be pinged by the Shadow Fiend. The courier isn't going to be sniped this time around, but this vision helps the SF so much. He knows everything about what's going on in his mid lane. He'll see rotations, and the supports in bottom, unless of course they smoke or go up through this avenue, but even then, they might get clipped by this deep ward. He'll be feeling very comfortable to farm up and in general just have a good time in this early laning stage. They'll get a kinetic field. Glimpse back does next to nothing. Ember Spirit doesn't have 6. If they lock him in a kinetic field, that's probably where Ember Spirit's going to stay. Ember Spirit is going to fly out his boots, though, and isn't too far behind the Shadow Fiend even after that death. This early game advantage for Duobao is very fragile, and could change with just a couple of kills, which might be set up by this Night Stalker. Level 3, 2 points up in the Void. Not something that you can ignore, but looks like he's just going to use this double damage rune to farm up a little bit as they go for the pull through. The diagonal angle from the Shadow Fiend, where are you gonna go, creeps? Only one of the creeps decides to go over towards that large camp, and the pull through is going to be unsuccessful. Sadly enough for the Night Stalker. Decent attempt. Shadow Fiend and the enemy's side of the woods, or at least for Duobao's woods, he's gonna be power farming up. If the other games are any indication, Power Treads into the Shadow Blade is his preferred build. But it looks like he might be going for a mech this time around. At any case, he's going to build those Power Treads for now. And probably make his decision later down the line, as we do have the Gyrocopter smoking up. This rotation is one you see time and time again. Not necessarily to the mid lane, but once you get called down on your Gyrocopter, you want to get aggressive as soon as possible. They'll bump into the woods. They know Shadow Fiend doesn't have any stacks available now, so they can extrapolate. He probably farmed those up before the 7-minute mark, and now Shadow Fiend is back. He's going to have his bottle flown out to himself. Maybe they're able to get this full wraparound. They have a pretty good idea of where these heroes are. In fact, I'm sure with the Night Stalker's vision, they see the Disruptor, they saw the Shadow Fiend, now they see him in the mid lane. They're going to make this dive happen. A lot of time is being wasted if they don't, but I suppose that is actually not time wasted, but rather space created for the Winter Wyvern to get a little bit more room and more experience towards that level 6. They'll farm up the enemy woods and haven't yet pulled the trigger. It's so hard to make that call to dive in the tier 1 when you could have TPs. And the TPs are available for the majority of the Dire's side. It's sad that that smoke didn't work out for FTD.A. Gyrocopter's just gonna fall back, go back into his own woods, and they'll know about it. The wards spot him out is now Ember Spirit, going to be fighting against Farewell. Has a Remnant drop down on the ground, but he's just going to be able to cut him off. Remnant and Remnant. That'll be a dead Disruptor, 259 gold in the pocket of the Ember Spirit. Meantime, Gyrocopter dropping low, hasted Shadow Fiend comes in for the raise kill. Set up by that ward that was placed so early by the Disruptor. Sometimes you just get a haste rune, sometimes you get a kill off the back of it. Shadow Fiend with that kill is comfortably at the top of the net worth chart, 4,000 net worth. And we'll look to further accelerate that this game. Both of our offlaners are having a bit of a difficult time, but the Clockwork's able to contribute a lot easier than the Slaughter, who's still so far away. Oh, diving on the Shadow Fiend in mid lane with the Remnants forward. The Ember Spirit's going to be able to get it. He has no defensive play if they're able to get on top of him, though. They have the battery assault there. The Flame Guard's still active, is returning a lot of damage to this Clockwork with the Void, and that's a double kill for the Ember Spirit. The tick damage is just too much. You have to respect Flame Guard. Not only is that going to deal a lot of damage to you, but it makes it so very hard for you to kill him off with anything but right clicks. They just didn't have the damage. Wraith King can throw a fire blast over the way of the Slaughter. Just gonna keep him at his arm's length as the Slaughter finds himself level 5. TP back towards base. Ember Spirit has a Remnant mid. He's gonna be back in the fray very shortly. Disruptor's angling for a dive onto the Slardar. They want to go. Can they get this kill? The Wraith King's level 7, hasn't yet invested his skill point. If he wants to use his ultimate, he can level that up. Glimpsing him back, Slardar is going to get the crush off onto the Wraith King, delaying the blast. The stun is going to be thrown with a little bit more dazzle damage. They're not going to be able to kill the Slardar because of the Cold Embrace coming after the Wyvern. And now here's Nightstalker from the right-hand side, crush on a farewell, and he is going to be saying goodbye to the living world as he's going to be voided by the Nightstalker. Wraith King going to try to TP out after the chains were committed. A successful TP, the Nightstalker tries to pop the mango and go for the void. Not going to be able to find that. 4 for 4 is our kill score. Everything's been tied up, and really this is such an early, or even early game. My goodness. 1,000 net worth in the favor of Duobao, and 500 experience in the favor of FTD.A. And the Shadow Fiend is the holder of a lot of the advantage coming out from Duobao, but then again, the Ember Spirit isn't too far behind either. Both of these heroes are getting a lot of farm. Shadow Fiend's angling for a rotation down towards bottom, where Duobao are angling for a movement up towards top. Glimpse back onto the Slaughter, looking for a revenge kill onto him after he evaded their kill earlier. Wraith Fire Blast, right click, God, Dazzle secures it with the wave. Nightstalker bottom lane though, isolated inside the cogs, will be brought down by the Clockwork without even having to use the hookshot. Here comes Ember Spirit, he has the Flame Guard, the Requiem's going to be thrown, point blank hookshot, they'll burn through the Flame Guard shortly, and now with a couple more raises and right clicks, probably it's going to be a dead Ember Spirit, double kill for the Shadow Fiend, and cost Clockwork his life. Shadow Fiend's going to be really happy with that trade though, as long as he can get out safely, and it looks like he will. Splinter Blast not going to be lethal. 5-7. Duobao is starting to pick up a bit of a lead. Not a lead that is going to win FTD this game, or even get close to it. I'm not even sure if that lead's enough for them to get tier 1 towers outside of the one in top, which is kind of expected to be falling when you're dealing with a Slider who doesn't have the most lane presence out of your common offlaners now. Third Shadow Fiend for Duobao, and the third Shadow Blade pick up by him today. Seems to be really common with these Chinese teams. He's going to pop his Clarity. Doesn't have a Requiem. Used in that fight down towards bottom lane. But now with this Bounty Rune, has enough mana to go for a raise kill. And Gyrocopter is not particularly all that tanky. But the Radiant team now know of the Shadow Fiend's Shadow Blade. The ward has just expired, so he has faded into the sidelines. Maybe they haven't checked his inventory. And maybe Duobao are just going to smoke up. They don't have a smoke on the Dazzle, actually. Just grouping up and securing the Illusion Rune for the Shadow Fiend. As everything starts to settle down again. Dazzle will now be flying out that smoke. It feels like they wanted to go for that rotation, but just didn't have the item ready. And speaking of smokes, it looks like FTD.A are going to go for one of their own. Ember Spirit's going to shove out the mid lane. The rest of the team are sitting behind them. One of them will be scouted out by the flare, and I think Duobao kind of know what's going on here. They want to involve the Slaughter in these early kills. Slaughter just doesn't flash farm quick enough, and there's not enough lane space to get him that Blink Dagger at the time he'd want to. He wants to be involved in this first night, or in the second nighttime, excuse me, with the Nightstalker's rotation. That situation I was talking about in the draft where the Slaughter would have his Blink Dagger about 12-15 minutes in, not going to happen. They're going to pop a dust. That's unfortunate. They might have needed that for the Shadow Fiend's Shadow Blade. And mostly it's down to the fact that Slaughter just died a lot in the laning stage. Not necessarily his fault. It's a hard lane. But he set off in a bad foot as they bump the entire enemy team. Hookshot in. They're going to isolate that Slaughter inside the Kinetic Field Static Storm. He is not going anywhere anytime soon. Wraith King gets it with the Fire Blast. Call down on the ground. Winter's Curse as well onto the Wraith King. He's going to pop the Blade Mail. Has his ultimate ready. And the Wraith King wants to go in. Shadow Fiend will throw a raise the way of the Nightstalker. But he's too swift. Will make it out towards the left-hand side. 8-5. Losing the Slaughter, even though he isn't that farmed, is still quite a blow for FTD. They need him to get his blink. They need that initiating tool against Duobao, because right now Duobao are the ones with initiation edge. They have the hookshot from the Clockwork. They have the Shadow Blade on the Shadow Fiend, and FTD's ability to start fights is mostly off the back of these Sleight of Fist chains from the Ember Spirit, which, although not awful, is not anything like a hookshot. Not even close. Double damage on this Shadow Fiend. He's doing a lot of damage to the tower, and it looks like this is going to be taken without a fight to stop them from taking down the tower. But maybe they're able to catch some on the retreat. Let's see. Duobao are spotted by Radiant Vision on this high ground. They know exactly that they're backing off with their entire team, not going to be able to catch anybody as they're left alone. But Duobao, with the remainder of this DD rune, want to go into the Roshan pit. The Dazzle's armor plus the heals and the Vampiric Aura, 1 point in it for the Wraith King, will make this a very, very reliable Roshan for them. Roshan dropping low. They're going to open up on the Dazzle. Static Storm's on the ground. The Kinetic Field not going to hold them in place. Requiem unwound. They're going to bring down the Ember Spirit. They lose the Wraith King's ultimate and their 2 supports, though. Can Duobao keep on fighting? They buy back the Ember Spirit. He remnants in, wants a piece of this action, jumps onto the Clockwork, chains him down to the deck. They have the amp on both him and the Wraith King. No more ultimate available, and the Wraith King will fall. Buy back in the Clockwork, buy back in the Wraith King, buy back in the Dazzle. Duobao want to stop this. They really want to finish what they started inside the Roshan pit. Ember Spirit's Remnant is going to scout all of this out. And everything will slow down, if only for a second. 9-9 is our kill score, and just like that, this game gets a whole lot more interesting. Wraithfire Blast will be thrown onto the Slaughter. Flare over the top is going to connect on the Slaughter and company. And now they get a glimpse back. Slaughter is so very low already. They got the Winter's Curse onto the Dazzle. It's going to be a dieback for him. This Winter Blast does quite a lot of damage as they chains down the Clockwork. The Cogs are going to suck in the Ember Spirit. Inside such close quarters, the fire is going to burn him down. Triple kill for the Gyrocopter, but cost him his own life. Wraith King stands alone against the enemy team. So many diebacks. The chains. The Blade Mail is there, but Slaughter doesn't care. He's going to crush you down, and now they're going to steal the Roche. A disaster for Duobao. A 5-man wipe after they buy back on the Clockwork, the Dazzle, and the Wraith King. Of course, FTD are not without their buybacks being spent. Ember Spirit has to use his, but now as the proud owner of an Aegis the Immortal, the Shadow Fiend still has a lot of farm, but what does that matter? All of the auxiliary heroes for FTD.A are getting what they need. Especially the Slaughter is so much closer to his Blink Dagger after that fight. What a ridiculous turn of events. Things will slow down a little bit more after that Aegis. This is not going to be an Aegis that will allow them to comfortably go for pushes, but FTD should be feeling really good about that last fight. Really, the fact that Duobao weren't able to find a great hookshot initiation. It's one of the big reasons why that doesn't work out for them. Also, the lack of an amazing Static Storm kinetic field. They were okay for zoning, but not awesome. Now, Duobao are going to smoke up. They do recognize that they can still get quite a lot of momentum as Shadow Fiend sitting behind this Slaughter. The presence of Dark Lord's going to give up his position. Crush is going to connect. Slaughter sprints out towards the left-hand side. And with 489 movement speed, we'll be able to make it out alive. Duobao are pushing even without the Aegis Immortal. It feels like this might be a little over-aggressive. After that last Roche fight, that is such a big swing. A very fast one in the favor of FTD.A. Especially in the experience. That's really where it starts to show. As everybody on FTD.A is getting experience that they require. 8 on the Slaughter and the Winter Wyvern, 9 on the Night Stalker, 11 and 13 on this Ember Spirit. He's stacked. He has all of his skills maxed out. He's going to be getting towards that battle for it very soon. And the Sanjin is done for the Gyrocopter. The item progression is flowing for FTD.A. Ooh. Yeah, just back to farming for a little bit. FTD.A are going to apply pressure to this tier 1 tower in mid, but it doesn't look like they're going to fully commit. The Shadow Fiend has an Invis rune, has his Shadow Blade too. And FTD.A aren't there in forest. For now, are a little bit spread out. Looks like it's not going to come at the cost of any of their lives, though. Duobao are playing a little bit tighter when it comes to their positioning on the map. A little bit less sprawled out. Maybe the Shadow Fiend's able to catch out this Slaughter. Presence of the Dark Lord is applied. Gyrocopter's right on top of a Requiem, though. Oh, Gyrocopter's going to be able to evade it. Not 100% on point in the Gyrocopter. Now turning around with the help of the Night Stalker. Void is there. Call down on the ground. Shadow Fiend has no backup. Blink Crush. Dead Shadow Fiend. Down on the sidelines for 50 seconds. Winter Wyvern is there to sustain the rest of her allies. And fighting without the SF is so very hard for Duobao. Especially since their Clockwork is so far away with no mana and no way to get into this fight. Static Storm will be dropped. Shallow Grave on the Disruptor also. But they're just going to change targets. Glimpse back on the Ember Spirit. Under the tower gets the Disruptor kill. And now with the Blink Crush, they're going to chase for more. These supports are hitting the deck. And the next one to fall is going to be that Dazzle. Clockwork's finally around the area, but again, just doesn't have the mana to contribute. The Aegis to Immortal is still there for 2 minutes for the Ember Spirit, has his full Battle Fury done, less than 20 minutes into the game. Is pretty happy as far as Ember Spirits go. The Shadow Fiend playing a mite too aggressively with that Invis rune. If he gets the instant kill on the Gyrocopter, it's amazing, and I can understand him wanting to go for that play. But anything short of the Requiem immediately on top of the Gyrocopter isn't going to pull that off, and Gyrocopter was fidgeting a little bit. I think he knew. In fact, I'm pretty sure he knew. Yep, the advantage that Duobao once held in this game is now completely flipped on its head. 7,500 net worth and the advantage of FTD. Ooh, that's not the right button. And almost 10,000 experience. The experience lead is really what's doing it. Duobao only level 8 on the Disruptor, only level 7 on the Dazzle. You really want higher points up into, especially the Shallow Grave for the Dazzle, but oh, both of them are going to be caught out. Chains only connect onto the Disruptor, so Farewell is going to go away as it gives a farewell glimpse. The Ember Spirit sends him back towards the river area. 18-10. It's been so long since Duobao have found a fight on their own terms. It's always been the Slaughter initiating, or the Ember Spirit with the Sleight of Fist chains. For a long time, it hasn't been Luffy. But maybe he wants to find a jump in mid. Over Blink Crush, they blow up the Dazzle at the start of it. Now the Wraith King going to lose his ultimate. Such a long cooldown. It is level 2, right into a cooldown. He's going to respawn to his death. 46 seconds on the sidelines. And Clockwork can't pull the trigger, even though Luffy had a decent angle. Getting a kill after the fact is almost impossible. It would have been a suicide mission coming out from the Clockwork, and he's going to think better of it. The gem is purchased by the Winter Wyvern. FTD.A is trying to get so much map control. The net worth graph pretty much tells the story of this game. Shadow Fiend is Duobao's ability to fight, and this Shadow Blade just isn't having the effect that he really wants it to, and accelerating his farm super far ahead of the enemy team. He's dealing with a farm Gyrocopter and a farm Ember Spirit, whereas Wraith King is just too far behind to really have the same oomph. The Slaughter has his Blink Dagger, is able to initiate, and the Wraith King also can find those jumps with the Blink Wraithfire Blast. It's just not nearly as potent. Now, FTD.A, 20-10, doubling up the kill score of Duobao, are substantially in the lead, but without an Aegis to Immortal, I don't think they're going to feel comfortable enough going for a high ground push or a super aggressive push in any fashion. The Aquila is activated on the Ember Spirit. Don't think Shadow Fiend notices those creeps have the Aquila aura and an Invis Ember Spirit's on his tail. They know Shadow Fiend's around the corner. They're going to open up in the Disruptor. Stack Storm Kinetic Field is going to be thrown. Kinetic Field is going to wall off the Ember Spirit as the Night Stalker is isolated inside the cogs with a couple more crits. Night Stalker might go down. Does not have a way to get through those trees, but my goodness, the Ember Spirit cleave. That Sleight of Fist demolishes Duobao, and with another one, triple kill for the Ember Spirit. Gem of True Sight is going to hit the deck. Dropped by the Radiant supports. I think it was Dazzle was holding onto it, and Blink Crush are going to find the 5th member of Duobao's team. A disaster for them. That Death Requiem doesn't even get close to killing. Slaughter ultra kill for this Ember Spirit. Now up to 3,300 gold. FTD.A are looking really solid. That was really that Sleight of Fist that did it in, denying the TP on the way out. Was there another gem inside that fight? I don't think so. It was probably just the Winter Wyvern, but Winter Wyvern hasn't died yet. The Wonder White was on the floor. Maybe they're trying to transfer it to somebody else. Yeah, they want to give it to the Night Stalker, who eventually will have his Aghanims to be able to D-ward. Duobao are on the back foot. There's no other way to put it, and I'm not sure how they get back into the lead. Shadowblade when you're behind is a very mediocre tool. Not only because you're going to be lacking those defensive items that you could have bought with that 3,000 gold, but because the supports on the enemy side are able to frequently have so much detection. The gem is up, and with that gem, Shadow Fiend is going to find it a lot harder to get those openings, to find those solo pickups that Shadowblade's kind of designed to go for. Even though the Shadow Fiend isn't too far behind the likes of the Gyrocopter and Ember Spirit, Gyrocopter and Ember Spirit's itemization is much more conducive to their situation in this game. With the Sanjin Yasha BKB, Gyrocopter is doing so much damage inside these fights, and Ember Spirit now has a Blink Dagger, which is an amazing tool at keeping yourself alive. Wraith King It's just not having the impact of a safe lane farmer, really. And as a safe lane farmer, is really single target focused. Comes to his ability to take out creep camps and what have you. And this vampiric aura, and with his natural damage, can do so reasonably well, but not nearly as fast as like a gyrocopter and an Ember Spirit, who can take out stacks so very cleanly with the Battle Fury now on the Ember. FTD.A, looking solid. Now, how did Duobao get back into this? I think they need to just smoke up and try to find those initiations that they've been looking for this entire game, but FTD are too grouped up. They need to be able to focus down this Winter Wyvern before she gets off a Curse or a Cold Embrace. It seems impossible, though. Maybe jumping the Ember Spirit is something they can look to do. Clockwork's around the corner, opens up with a hookshot, bounces him back. No! He's able to activate the Remnant. The bounce back is a little bit late. Thought that would have been at least a potential kill if they followed up with the Saxstorm Wraithfire Blast. That's unfortunate for them. That could have been really good. But they're just going to end up losing a tier 2 tower in bottom lane for not much in return. As FTD.A successfully retreat back onto their side of the map. And that's probably going to be the case of things for a long time. Duobao just aren't able to punish FTD from doing much of anything around this map. And it doesn't get much better after this Aghanim Scepter is done on the Night Stalker. Roshan is up. This is the next major point of contention. And Duobao have a very good team at fighting around the Roshan lineup. But FTD aren't squeamish at fighting in such close quarters either. Excuse me. Winter Wyvern with that curse. The Sleight of Fist cleave, but oh, Blink Crush. They catch out two. Gyrocopters around the corner with the call down. Blows up one and looks for another. The Wraith King is going to lose his ultimate. Down on the sidelines for a while. We'll be able to get the blink out. Or that's the blink in from the Ember Spirit. The blink out by the Wraith King will be able to buy himself a little bit of space. Not the fastest, though, even after that blink. And Slaughter wants a piece of this action. Forstaff guesses the wrong direction, but the Sleight of Fist connects. And with it, the death of Wraith King is impending. Duobao just leaking heroes. 28 to 11. The Shadowfiend's doing his best to split push top of the double damage room, but it feels like it's just not enough. Shadowfiend doesn't have a secondary carry that's scary enough to really be a potent threat. Shadowfiend going to look for the Skeleton Winter Wyvern, almost gets it, but can he get out alive? He has the double damage rune. He's going to fight to his death. He's just not doing the damage, especially when he's bashed. The Slardar and the Night Stalker are going to be able to take him down in tandem. Duobao feel uncomfortable playing from behind. I don't think there's another great way to put it. They're just not able to find these initiations because FTD.A are playing so safe. And it's working. 15,000 net worth advantage and 20,000 experience advantage in the favor of FTD.A. Jaden's going to be throwing Roshan as FTD are taking this down very quickly. And they should be able to take this down without much of a contention coming out from Duobao, even though they do know about this with the Clockwork's flare that's thrown out over the top. Is Clockwork going to go for the steal play? He's got a hookshot in. It's too late. It's just going to get crushed down. I applaud your enthusiasm, Clockwork, but that is such a low probability play to make. I've seen it work, but they were in a position where he wouldn't be able to stun everybody, and Roshan was a little bit further out. I don't know. I think this is a situation where Duobao kind of need to make those Hail Mary all-in style of goes, or else they're just going to lose this game, as FTD have almost complete map control. And Night Stalker doesn't even have his Ags yet. He will soon. Relatively soon, at least. The Courier for now isn't holding on to anything major, just a TP scroll. FTD going to keep on grouping up. Maybe they find a jump on this Wraith King in mid. He still doesn't have his ultimate for 16 seconds. This is a terrible time for him to die. Maybe they can delay that 16 seconds. They have a couple more with the Shallow Grave, but he's going to go down. They'll lose the Dazzle too in his attempt to save the Wraith King. And Aegis the Immortal still claimed by the Gyrocopter. They're going to chain down the Clockwork. Follow up from the Slaughter. And Duobao are just falling apart. 33 to 11. They have not been able to find anything since the laning stage. And the Shadowblade and the Shadowfiend just isn't really doing what they need it to be. A lot of this comes down to the draft. Duobao have a situation where their draft is good when it's ahead, when your Wraith King is farmed, when your Clockwork's finding initiations. Your Dazzle and Disruptor can have a lot of impact, but from behind, the Dazzle and Disruptor tend to just get demolished. by FTD.A. The Chedafiend's doing his best Broodmother impression in the top lane. Pushing that out will take down the group wave and take down the tier 2, but GG is called. And Duobao are going to lose their first game of the day against FTD. Well played FTD, in general looking solid, especially the Ember Spirit. Just having a great performance. Thanks for tuning in to GameShow _D2N_2 for your Chinese Global Esports Cup action. We'll have more coming your way soon. FTD are looking pretty good. We'll have to see if they're able to keep that up. Next matchup, not 100% sure what that's going to be. Let me go ahead and check now. And the next one to come up on this channel is Newbie Young versus C-Deck Young. And that'll be up soon. I should be joined by EGAD for that game. It should be a lot of fun. See you there, folks. Stick around for more Dota 2 action coming your way soon.